Hey, I'm Brannon Beliso. It is Friday, May 3rd, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective, and I do say collective because it takes a village, right? And this show is what it is and has been year in and year out because of you and because of what we share together as people. And we're just simply trying to figure out this thing called life. Number one, be the best version of ourselves. And of course, scale and monetize a profitable business. If you can't do that, then it's just a hobby. Go get a day job and call it a day. But if you really want to make this thing happen, the learning that goes into it, I believe, is very unique, especially in today's world of business and what we particularly do for the martial arts school owner. There's just so many moving parts. You wear a lot of different hats, so your mindset needs to be in a place, in a place. And every morning when I wake up, I have that morning ritual that puts me in the best state of mind to be the best version of me, to have the best day possible. And I highly recommend it. So if you come aboard, say hey, tell me where you're tuning in from. Who are you? Who are you? Where are you from? We'll give you a few minutes to hop in. And while we do that, let's begin by thanking our sponsors. To some Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting. Do your research, do your homework, look into all five of these companies. I believe, because I personally use them in our businesses, that they can help impact your business, better your business, and position you above the noise in your community to give people a reason why they should choose to invest in your service and bring their kid to you or themselves versus Joe Karate down the street, right? And you need a great CRM system. You need a great website. You need a great vendor to supply you with equipment and uniforms, etc. You need a killer life skills. If you don't have a great life skills component in your school, please do it right away, because we have the opportunity to do it better than soccer, baseball, gymnastics, dance, everything. And if you just haphazardly, talking about whatever that you consider a life skill, that's no different than the instructor that walks on the mat and says, well, tonight we're going to do this, right? So I think it's real important to make sure that you are overcoming that by putting a great life skills component in position. And business-wise, I wouldn't move without LC Accounting. They're a big part of what I do. They help keep me on the straight and narrows, one would say. And I appreciate LC Accounting a lot. What do we got coming up? It's Time Live Purpose. Purpose. November 9th through 12th. As I keep sharing, we're going to post that link soon. So if you're one of the regulars and you want to get signed up, hit us up and we'll send you a private link for that. Because, of course, we'd like to give you that preference to sign up and be there first. Cool. All right. So as you come aboard, say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. As I was sharing with Marco, it's been one of those amazing, busy mornings. And I spend a lot of time on the phone, talking to clients, talking to people as a consultant. And I'm blessed to do what I do. And I'm grateful for what I do. And to be able to be with you here every week. I think it's a chance to reground myself. I know people come on, they say that they have questions, things like that, but it's just me, man. A lot of this is me just talking into the ethernet there, sharing my thoughts and my experiences, and almost like a poet or a rapper, I riddle it off for 60 minutes of time, and hopefully you get something out of it. Okay? So as you come on aboard, say hi, tell us where you're tuning in from. Make sure, Marco, I know with this new Facebook thing, share it on my personal page as well as everywhere else we possibly can. Maybe post a comment at those group pages. We can't post that. Say, come over here. Come over to YouTube. Come over to StreamYard. Come over to Brandon's business page, Brandon's personal page, and start watching the show with us. Regulars might be sitting there going, hey, man, where's everybody? When we're right here. So what are we talking about? Everything today is about systems and how effective systems can really help grow your business. There's a simple statistic that 90% of franchises succeed where 90% of mom and pop businesses fail. And I think one of the big differences between a franchise model business and a startup mom and pop business is the franchise has proven systems that they've tested over location, different demographics, all of it, to have this data to show that systems driven businesses have the opportunity to be more successful. Cool. And that's really the long and short of that. So if that's not good enough data for you to at least be curious about how effective systems can help your business, then I don't know what is. I simply don't know what is. But when I read the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and it's a standard and for any small business owner, I'd recommend you read it again and then again and read it again. When they talk about systems, I think the first thing is understand, who are we writing these systems for, right? And I'm definitely not writing them for myself. I'm writing them for the lowest common denominator. In this case, McDonald's was a high school kid. You write a system for somebody totally ordinary to perform extraordinarily. And that's cool, right? I mean, for me, that's just like, wow. Wow. How can you build this billion-dollar business on the shoulders of children, right? Of high school kids who've never really worked a job ever. So they have no real work experience or work ethic per se, because they just haven't been doing it long enough. That to me is amazing to conceptualize that. And a lot of our bench strength, a lot of the people that work with us in our schools are what? High school kids, right? High school kids, and we bring them up through our leadership programs and different things like that. But nonetheless, when you can get them to perform extraordinarily, then you have a really good system. You do, right? And when it's that systematic, I think what it helps cultivate in any business is trust. I know a quarter pounder with cheese in the Philippines will taste the same as a quarter pounder of cheese in San Francisco as it would in Mexico, because it's a system right down to the product that's delivered. So if that's the case, and McDonald's has earned that trust, then do I care if a 15-year-old kid made that quarter pounder with cheese versus a 50-year-old man? No, I don't. Because I can trust consistently through the systems that deliver the product that that quarter pounder with cheese will taste the same anywhere I go. Could you see the value that offers us in our industry? I think so. I can really see that. So once I understood that, and I've shared that story a million different ways, I was working with Topkick Insights as an influencer for them. And I had flown out to the East Coast and I was touring their schools. And two, who is the founder of my studio, we walked into one of the schools in the morning and he said, I haven't been here in 3 months. And I said, what? Because at the time, being a martial artist and a martial arts instructor, I thought all you were supposed to do was teach and impact lives. The thought of not being on the floor was pretty sacrilegious to me, let alone 3 months, right? Let alone 3 months. But when he posed that question to me, and at the time I had a newborn baby, I had a home that was about a year old, so I had a mortgage payment. He said to me, if you get sick or hurt and couldn't work a day in your life, right? How long would it be before that school closed? And it was a done deal. I figured 6 months. So I knew the volatility it put my family in, the position they were in, was not something I was willing to cultivate. So I sat about writing systems, because they shared me that. I was the kid. They told me all about E-Myth and that whole thing, and I began to go down that rabbit hole. I think the challenge in our industry is we suffer from being a personality-driven business, and that's not somewhere I want to live. I simply don't, because personality limits how you can scale and monetize it. If it's all dependent upon you doing the work yourself, because you have no systems in place, you have no way to train people, then you are a slave to that business. And one person can only teach so many people before they burn out, right? If I want to scale and monetize, it's going to take people. That's it, long and short. So you with me? So one of the books, you might put it in there, Marco, for people as they want to read Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth. E-Myth by Michael Gerber, okay? Now, so what is a system? What is a system? Well, A system is a set of actions or processes to help fulfill a task, or in our case, more personally, it is to help us to fulfill our brand promise. And what is our brand promise? We are one, a community dedicated to serving you in every moment to live your best life. Right. So, any system that we engage in, any system that we write, anything that we do, any action, any task that we fulfill in our business is based upon what? Fulfilling our brand promise to people, right? We need to fulfill our brand promise to people. That's it. All day, every day. If we're not helping you live your best life, then we need to go back to the drawing board and rewrite that system. Okay. So that's when I think a system takes on a whole new life and a whole new meaning whenever I can infuse my why into that system. That's a big one because other than that, a system's just a process. But when you can fulfill your purpose with that system, everything changes. That's where the magic stuff happens. So for me, it's just so important to begin with knowing my why. And I know that has nothing to do with the system per se, but but if I write a system from that purpose, magic happens. So we know what a system is. So where does that begin? Well, I need to define why I need that system. So let's take something basic as opening the front door of your school. Okay. Why do I need that system? Well, I can't fulfill my brand promise of helping people live their best life if we can't get in the school so other people can come in and learn in their classes, right? Okay. So I need to write that system. Pretty simple. Right? Pretty simple. So I can define why I need that system. How will opening that front door help people live their best life? It's self-explanatory. Two, you design it. Okay. And write this down as we go along. You can go back and listen to this later, but you want to get this. So you define why this system is needed. Two, you design the system. And that's physically, right? Going through the process of step one, step two, step three, step four, step five, step six. So just stay with me on this. So, what is step one? If I'm going to live my best life, well, I I'm able to recognize this is the front door to the school. And if you write that in a system, it might be locate the door, 850 Taravel Street, hypothetically. Okay, step one, I identified the door. Step two, take out your key that's marked with the red ring around it because it is the one martial arts key for 850 Taravel. Good. Step three, stick the key in the door, in the keyhole. Step four, turn the key to the left or right, one complete turn. Step five, take the key out of the door. Step six, grab the handle with either hand and pull the door outward. Step seven, walk inside, 3 steps in and then close the door behind you. Step eight, turn on the lights located here. See, each step in that empowers your team to fulfill your brand promise. And if I'm sitting there, I don't know where the building is, right? If I'm a new employee, I don't know what key, and I'm fumbling it and spending time getting frustrated. Which key is it? Which key is it? You know, I don't understand 360 degrees in today's culture. So I need to know, turn it to the right, one complete turn, or to the left, one complete turn. So as you're beginning writing the systems, I really think the art of writing a system, get ordinary people to perform extraordinarily. There it is. It's right there, right? It's right there for me. So I really enjoy the process of visualizing how the system is going to fulfill that promise. Okay. So we defined it, we designed it, right? We have to design it. And then we verify, does all of this make sense? And the verification really comes in for me in the training. That's where it begins, right? We sit there and verify it, or we verify all the different steps. And then we practice it with the team. And then after that, we manage the system, right? Now, there's a big step between verifying and managing that system. And I'll get into that in a minute. But those are the fundamental steps, right? That go into creating and writing that system. Did I miss a step in there? Define, Marco, design, verify, and then manage. Am I missing a step? Look it up for me, Mark, and put it in there, FM, and I'll double back on that. So, what systems do I write first? That's always one of the biggest questions I get. What systems do I write first? Okay. What I recommend you doing is I will take Post-its, take a wall like this behind you and write down every system: opening the door, answering the phone, processing a lead, sizing up a kid for sparring gear, the warm-up, the stretch, how to test people, how to award stripes, how to do a birthday party, day camps. There's just so many systems that need to be done. But for me, going back to that original story of, if I got sick or hurt and couldn't work a day in my life. So the first thing I attacked, which made a lot of sense. Oh, thank you. Test. That's what I was missing. Huh, Marco? Test. Define, design, test it. And that's when you train people, right? And do all that. You verify what works and what doesn't, then you manage it. Thank you, Marco. Just keep that in your back pocket. I might need it, Marco. So replacing yourself on the floor is number one. Number one. Because everything else in my business can be outsourced. Janitorial, bookkeeping, accounting, marketing, front desk admin. It's not a specific skill set. But as far as teaching, at that time, I was the only real teacher teaching, 40, 50 hours a week. Hey, what's up, Miss Monique? What's happening? Jason. Okay, here they come. Jason, Monique, share this with about 1,000 people and get them to come onto the show and join us. And so I knew I could outsource all of those things, but I couldn't outsource the teaching at the time. At that time, when I came to that realization, I had a bunch of teenagers. Really, I think I did. I had a bunch of teenagers. So what did that look like? Well, I took a yellow legal pad, right? And I had my favorite pen, and all I did was write down everything. Okay, what do we do in the warm-up? Jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, what do we do in the stretch? Da 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 da. And when I looked at it, when it was all written out, and that's the simplest place to begin, right? Is the warm-up and the stretch. Because I was working with a school owner the other day, and let me back up 2 steps. So I said to the school owner, we need to take care of a couple of things right away. Because in our instructors training experience, and stay with me because I'm jumping around a little bit, the first thing we teach them in 3 months is how to greet people at the front door, take attendance, tie belts. That's it. That is it. Because what does that allow me to do? Teach more. Okay. If I can get at least somebody to do the warm up and stretch, and that's not as specialized as teaching the actual curriculum, then in between classes, I can use the restroom, drink some water, talk to a parent, do that sort of thing. And once I was able to design the greeting, the attendance, and the belt tying, I wrote that system, right, based upon the way I do it. Then I had to go back and rewrite step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 for the average person, a junior leader, an assistant instructor, to perform extraordinarily based upon fulfilling our brand promise. So it changed slightly. I was talking in another school and I said, well, explain to me how you open the door, right? And they said, well, I open the door. Well, how do you open it? I open it every day. I just open it. Try to do that with one of your team. Tell them, open the door. Go, open the door. It doesn't work that way. So I want my team to live their best life. That's part of my brand promise too, because as Richard Branson said of Virgin Airlines, if the clients are successful, the passengers, and my team is successful, right, the flight attendants, the pilots, then I'll make a lot of money. And he's right. Because if both parties are engaging at a high level of interaction, that's where magic happens. That's where retention happens. That's where money happens, up here. It doesn't happen here putting out a bunch of fires because you don't write any systems. You just react to situations. So that's what I love about systems. It allows me a place to behave from that is not emotional based, that is not attitude based, is not personality driven. It allows me to function in a space. No different than EMTs, firefighters. They all behave on certain systems to mitigate the fear and all the other things that go with their job and the anxiety. So it's the same thing here. Why do people practice fire drills? Go. Because under a stressful situation, they need that trained fire drill they've done many, many times to get people out safely. It's the same thing here, right? And the lowest hanging fruit was greeting people at the front door and the warm up and the stretch. So once I wrote it for me, I methodically went back and wrote it to teach people. Ordinary people perform extraordinarily. Okay. Now, that test, that step of testing, really came from sitting down at a table, right? Okay. So we wrote the system, we defined why we need the system, we wrote the system for ourselves because it's the fastest, easiest way to do it. Then I rewrote the system. Then I sit down at a table, right? So we sit together at a table and we read through the system together. Each system is read through. And then we go, okay, what questions do you have, right? Does anybody have questions? And we answer those questions, right? So that's still part of the design process, designing it so they get it. But when we step onto a mat and we start role playing and practicing that system, that's where we begin to test hypothetically under a controlled environment. Does this system work or does it not? And so if it's something like greeting people at the front door, I literally go out the door, come in the door, go out the door, come in the door, go out the door, come in the door. And each time we offer another step in the system. Are you smiling? Are you leaning forward? Showing that genuine concern by leaning in when you're saying hello. What is the gesture with your hands, right? What is the physiognomy of your face? All those are steps you can write into the system. And then, and here's something very unique I want you to grasp for a minute. Hard systems fulfill the Braden promise. Soft systems are the in the moment, customizable, behaviors that really take that system to a whole nother level, right? And for everybody coming aboard, if you got a question, put it in there. Make sure you say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. So the hard system is you must say hello within 5 seconds of somebody walking through the door. 5 seconds. And we choose to do it. Everybody says hello. Because that's why if somebody misses, they're busy, they're talking to a parent, they're on the phone, they're tending to an after schooler, whatever the case may be. If we make it a cultural habit of everybody saying hello, I would believe odds wise and percentage wise, they're going to get at least one hello. Is it a good day when everyone's in position to all say hello? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I got that from a Japanese restaurant. So these two things I'm sharing with you, I didn't create. Number one was the Ritz-Carlton rule, the 5x10 rule. Somebody comes within 10 feet, you acknowledge. You come within 5 feet, they're not in a conversation or on a cell phone, you say hello. Okay? And that's why if you go to our schools, what little front desks we have left, because we don't really have front desk people, there's about a 10-foot distance from the front door to the front desk. No more than that. The 10x5 rule of Ritz-Carlton. The second part of that was when I went to a Japanese restaurant. You walk through the door, everybody says hello. From the sushi chef to the, waitress, to the cook, to the busboy, everybody says hello. Because if somebody misses it, we know at least one person is going to get that hello in there. So that's where those two strategies were born out of. And why did I adopt those strategies? Because they help us fulfill our brand purpose of what? Live your best life. So again, I can get the right information because I'm clear on my brand. I'm clear on my brand promise. So when I saw the Ritz-Carlton thing, it made a lot of sense. Right. So that's the soft system. Who's coming through the door? If it's a little 5-year-old kid, we might tousle their hair and say, "What's up, buddy? Welcome to One Martial Arts." Okay. If it's a teenager, fist bump. "What's up? What's up, dude? How's it going today?" If it's an adult, now it's our policy. We don't shake hands with women, just because we want to make sure male instructors is not inappropriate, right? That little healthy bubble, but we will extend our hand to most men and say, "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to One Martial Arts." So see, the soft system is who are you saying hello to. The hard system that fulfills the brand promise to live your best life, you must say hello the minute they walk through that door. So see the hard system versus the soft. And soft systems, I think, are the hardest thing to quantify because they're in the moment. But I think it's about planting seeds and creating awareness with your team that they're allowed that liberty. I'll share a story on that. Disney, who I think has some of the most incredible systems in the world, and I'm at Disneyland, I often will take a little sketchbook, my journal, and I'll write systems that Disney implement. So the hard system is this guy worked in the gift shop, right? His job was to sell stuff. And they noticed there was an uptick of selling all of these swords, right? These Peter Pan swords, or I don't know what they were from, Harry Potter. No, that's Universal. They were selling all these swords. And so it made management, right? Take a look at what the heck? Why is this one gift store selling a lot of swords? And then they went in and they saw what was happening was the guy who worked there was play sword fighting with the kids. He had been some guy who aspired to do stunt work or something or be an actor. So he'd stand outside when kids would come by and challenge them. I challenge you to a duel. And he'd give them a sword and he'd have a sword and they would play sword fighting. And because of that interaction, there was an uptick in sales of these little kids' toy swords. See, so the hard system is you're here to sell things and generate revenue for this Disney store. The soft system, which I think is a wonderful thing to allow your team to have liberty. You don't want to run this tight knit, just strictly by the systems, by the book. And you hear that a lot. It's by the book, by the book, by the book. Allowing that soft system, which brought out the individual's certain expertise and contribution to the system, powerful. That's an example of how a soft system can really support the hard system and in the end, create a better experience for the customer and generate revenue. So that's my just a rough view of soft systems. And as you begin to write these hard systems, you will see, oh wow, there's a soft system there. Oh wow, there's a soft system there. But don't get caught up in all that. Okay. So we defined why we need that system. It fulfills the brand promise, right? Certain tasks, certain action, right? We designed it. And we're all famous in our own minds. So that's the first rough is you write it for you. Second, you write it for people. And then when you test that system, for me, in that design and testing part, you test the system by training the team on it and then have them role play it out. And you'll begin to see holes in your game. Things are people very confident on a step that you wrote. Another place you may have written a step in that system where everyone's going, huh? What? Right? They don't get it. So that's okay. That's okay. And then when I verify the system, that's when it's put into action. So for us, we role played it out, right? In the design and testing, we've role played it out. We've tested it. It seems like a great system. Then the implementation, this is the one people miss. It's no different than when you go into a restaurant and there's a waiter there serving you. Next to him is the waiter with the little name tag. And it's so, I don't know, I think it's embarrassing. It says waiter in training, right? Many times it'll say that. That's a huge step people miss because when you have the chance to mentor your team and set them up for success like that, please take full advantage of it. It's level 5 leader quality. It endears your team to them. Because the worst thing you could do is throw your team to the wolves. I earned a black belt, and I think my papa looked at me and said, go teach. I'm like, what? Go teach. I've never taught a class, right? Doesn't matter. You're a black belt. Go teach. So I saw that right away as a huge minus because I was not empowered. So if anything, I never wanted to teach back then because I had no skill set. I had no skill set to teach. So that whole time you spend where they shadow you is super important. And when they shadow you and in real time, you are offering them constructive criticism and they're giving you feedback as well, asking you questions, it's super powerful because again, I don't want to throw people to the wolves. I want to make sure that team is trained. So when they get out there, ordinary people get to perform extraordinarily. So they shadow me. right? And then after they shadow you, the next phase is you shadow them. Okay. And in that, you want to make sure that there's a lot of praise, there's a lot of support, there's a lot of empathy, right? A level 5 leader really maximizes their emotional intelligence. And for me today, that's a huge part of my life is mastering my personal emotional intelligence to be a better leader, to empower my team, right? An empathetic leader, that's one of the life skills you should really learn. Seek to understand versus being understood takes me to a whole another level of service. Okay. So when I shadow them, I'm ever mindful of that. Now, there's heat of the battle, things I understand. And we use walkie talkies. So I'll stand at a distance and, there'll be praises and things like that. But if something's unsafe, like two kids are sparring and one's punching the other one in the face really hard over and over and over, guess what? I'll hit that headphone and say, "Sir, you have two kids fighting in the corner. Can you please tend to that now? Thank you." Because if you don't stop it, it's going to get worse. But other than those types of things, heat of the moment, I am ever mindful. And my guys are so good at this. TJ and Lucas are so good at this on empowering that student by sharing with them, right? That instructors and training candidate student that, you know what? Mistakes are okay. I got your back. I'm here for you. Rudy Mick. If you get a chance, Miick. I always give Rudy credit. When I took his workshops and his seminars, he's really big on that communicating from the purpose. And he talked about that. We need to understand that our team, hey, Virginia, from Journey Martial Arts, we understand that our team is a bucket. And in the bottom of this bucket is holes. And you're putting in these systems and this information in the top of the bucket. Guess what? It's going right out the bottom. And if you're not okay with that, then I don't know what to tell you. Even the best systems in the world, the architect understands that I'm putting this information, these systems into the bucket, and it's coming out the bottom. Maybe not as fast, but it's still coming out the bottom. And when Rudy offered me that analogy, because his big thing was restaurants, right? Which I love studying outside our industry because it gives me a lot of disruptive thinking that our industry would never think about implementing. So studying the restaurant industry, studying Apple, studying Nike, things of that nature for me are very powerful. So he said, here they are. Team, come here. We put the salt and pepper like this, and that's where it goes on the table. You got it? Yes, we do. Next day he comes in, the salt and pepper's like this. He puts them back into place, says, team, come here. Salt and pepper goes like this. Got it? Okay, great. Comes back the next day. Salt and pepper's not in the same position again. Team, come here. We put the salt and pepper like this, right? You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. And for me, it's just a simple mindset and discipline I live by that 90% of what's wrong in my business is my fault. The other 10% that's wrong in my business is my fault. Well, that's kind of dumb, Brannon, because you're not in control of that employee. No, it's 100% my fault because I hired the wrong person to begin with, because I didn't have a system for hiring people to mitigate. Do they fit our culture? Do they fit our why? What core values that they have that we have? So again, that's what I mean by that. Okay. So the whole with buckets, get used to it and be okay with it. Doesn't mean you have a bad system. Just means people were going to have to be trained on it forever, right? Forever. Because without that type of training, it leads to complacency. And that's where people make a lot of mistakes in their company. People are complacent, so they start doing old habits, bad habits. You're like, whoa. You got to stop that. That's not part of what we do, right? It's not in the system. I just understand that it's a bucket with holes. I'm going to constantly train them on it. Okay. So quick review. We defined the system to fulfill the brand promise, right? Opening the front door. We designed it. We tested it and trained people on it, found out the holes in our game, made some corrections in the system. Then they shadow you. Then you shadow them. And then the last test, the last step really is letting go. And then it's called what Rudy Mick called it, trust and track. I trust that the system and the training I offered this team member was so intensive, so thorough, so on point that somebody ordinary can perform extraordinarily, right? That's the whole premise of systems. And again, read E-Myth if you haven't already done so. And then you trust and track that system. Pure and simple. I trust and I track this system. How do I do that? Well, there's KPIs, there's data everywhere. And for me, honestly, my simple rule of thumb is this. If my business is performing better this year than it was a year ago at this point, I'm a happy camper. That's my most base, because I choose to wake up happy and in love. So I need some kind of gauge. And that for me is very important. I had that conversation with somebody today. Our Millbury location's up, I don't know, 100,000 or so, for these 4 months into the year. And San Francisco's only 5,000 up for the year. The bottom line, whether it's 5,000 or 100,000, I'm happy because it's doing better than it did a year ago. Now, are they meeting my total goals? No, I have certain numbers that I'm after, right? But that sense of gratitude really, really makes a big difference in your business. Cool? Now, so with that said, I need to manage that system. And let's say hypothetically, well, it's not hypothetical because this is every day in our business. I get a KPI that says we lost 5 white belts. Whoa, we lost 5 white belts this month? They just started. It was their first month. How is that possible? So I go down the rabbit hole. First thing I look at is, where are we losing those white belts? Well, 4 out of the 5 we lost Thursday at 5 o'clock in San Francisco. Huh. Okay. Thursday, 5 o'clock, San Francisco. First variable. Number 2, who's teaching the class? Oh, well, it's a young instructor. We just got him out of instructor's training. He's new. That could be a variable, right? That could be a variable right there. Right there. So is it scheduling the class time? Is it the instructor? Right? And then third, and don't forget this, is the curriculum being taught. So those are the 3 variables, I think, to retention. Class schedule, right? Could be class size too, right? And maybe the size of the class is too big. So all those variables allow me to make course correction. And that's a big one for me. I don't get mad at anybody. It's useless. I don't get pissed at anybody or mad. I'm serious. For me, it's really more important to be proactive versus reactive. You with me? I want to be proactive versus reactive. Hey, Ashton, what's up, buddy? From Believe Martial Arts, Chipley, Florida. I want to be proactive versus reactive. Take a deep breath. And so if I allow my team to make mistakes, and they're only going to be, their performance level is only going to be as well as I write the system and train them on it. And that's the God honest truth. And so if I can understand that when I'm managing that system, I'm always looking for ways to improve it. And that's the Kaizen theory, right? Constant improvement. And I recognize you don't set it and forget it. It's silly. It's silly to set it and forget it. It's just silly. Complacency is the enemy. So I love managing systems and looking at them because as the architect of my business, I think it's cool. It's cool. I find what plagues our industry is you look at this work and you don't see the value in it because you are a personality driven business. Personality driven business. So that old saying, it's easier for me to do it, right? Can't do it as good as me. That's ego. I think what's amazing today for me is I have guys on my team that are probably teaching much better than me at a higher level. If anything, they're more consistent because they're teaching constantly. But with that, complacency is the enemy and bad habits are formed. So it's really my goal to constantly train people on these systems to help them perform better. Because if they're empowered, coming to work is more fun, everything's more fun. I'm clear on the curriculum. I know exactly how to deliver the warm up. I know exactly how to teach this stripe, what pad to hold, what to do. It's so empowering. Again, I got a black belt. My dad said, go teach. I'm like, what the heck? I've never been taught to teach. Yet I was thrown to the wolves. And that's so disempowering. Trial by fire, trial by fire. That's fine. But I don't want to trial by fire anything. If I'm a 15-year-old kid, I'm trying to teach it on my French fries at McDonald's, right? That's very, 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 a lot of safety issues. So there's no trial by fire. And as noble as that sounds to you, as cool as it sounds to you, please don't do that. You want to lose a team member really, really fast? Let them go before their time. Throw them on the mat before their time. But again, because I understand the value of systems, and I hope you do too, from today's show, that you get down and you write these systems. Okay? So again, quick review. I define the system based upon live your best life. My why. Why do we need this system? I design it. And designing is all the moving parts, the training. I test it through role-playing practice, and we implement it. Then I verify what steps actually work. Hey, Rocky. What's up, Rocky, sir? So then I verify what steps work and what do not. And that's a big one. I love when a system doesn't work because it's an opportunity to make it better. That's it. So once I verify what works and what doesn't, and then I rewrite steps and I train people, I go back and train them some more on that system, then all I do is manage it. And a really great system, honestly, if you do the first steps, define it on the why, design it, train people on it, you test it, you verify what works, what doesn't, you make changes, the managing part actually becomes a lot more simple. It's more like maintenance. Just we decide every year, based upon our training schedule, these are the top 10 systems everybody needs to do really well. And we know they're going to forget because they're a bucket with holes in it. So the top systems you should be training on all the time, strategically. It's not haphazard. When we do instructors training, we don't just sit there and go, whoa, that's part of day. It has nothing to do with what we're teaching. So training and teaching people to teach are two different things completely. You with me? Right. And again, because I understood going back to if you get sick or hurt and couldn't work a day in your life mentality, that I need to make sure this team was performing at such a level that the revenue we produce was the same, if not more, as when I was teaching. Okay. And you've got to trust that system. Again, I don't care if a 15-year-old kid makes my quarter pounder with cheese or a 50-year-old man. If they deliver it the way I like again and again and again and again and again, I trust that you are fulfilling your brand promise. Ours is live your best life. Cool? Cool. So I think that's the heart and soul of systems. And people always say, well, what systems do I write first? Again, I share the story. I was blessed. One of my investments was in Robert Talbot. It was a clothing line. And several of the key people, the CEOs and stuff, one of them was from Nike, right? One of them is from Nike. And as I picked his brain, I realized he was a branding expert and that. So I paid him $5,000 a month. And I think we met once a week for an hour. $5,000 a month, which people would think is a lot of money, but it's not. I've rebranded 40, 50 businesses based upon a why. I've helped write systems. I've helped work with the culture. And it was the work I did with him. So what you do is you write down every system on a Post-it. You can do it on the list first, but the reason I want it on a Post-it is you're going to put it up on a wall. All these systems that need to be written. Could be cleaning the bathroom. Could be, we have a system when the kid pees on the floor. We do. We have a system for when a kid pees on the floor, right? System of loading up the wagon when you go to the park for day camp. I mean, there's so many systems that need to be written, right? So once you got this full list and you're completely overwhelmed, then you narrow it down to 9. So whatever on that wall, take 9 Post-its. That's all you can take. Put them on another wall. Look at them, look at them, look at them. Narrow it down to 3. Then from that 3, narrow it down to 1. And that's the first system you should write. And for me, and it's still that way, and that's why I haven't taught in San Francisco in 7 years. I know it's odd to run a black belt testing that I've never taught a single kid that I'm testing. It's bizarre. It's still bizarre. I'm still not used to it, but I understand the value of systems. San Francisco, I've been taught in for I think close to 7 years now, they told me, maybe a little longer. And so that becomes a passive revenue stream. I do the marketing, different things like that, but overall, San Francisco location is pretty much passive revenue. Millbrae, I teach 1 day a week. I teach 1 day a week, but make no mistake, I'm the go-to guy if everyone's on vacation and things like that. And I'm grateful to teach because I do so little of it now. But I recognize that replacing me on the mat was number one. But I recognized if the systems weren't really, really good, the team wasn't really, really good, that I'm going to lose revenue. So, quick story. When I did this, I trained people, wrote systems for a whole year on what went on the mat. The discipline. I had to leave my house. I had to sit down at Pete's Coffee, right, which is like a Starbucks. I had to discipline myself. No social media, no email, nothing. I had to write the nuts and bolts of one system. And I think at the time it was like 15 steps, at least 15 steps of that system, right? At least 15 steps or 70% of the system. I had to write that before I was ever allowed to look at social media or anything. And this ritual went on every day, 5 days a week for a better part of a year. And then I trained people on it. Now, again, studying Top Kick. And to this day, I tell you, see, here's the impact. This book, I did an interview with Tule. This is from May 2012. That's how long I've known Top Kick. And this is their red book. This is how they run their schools, right, at the time. And it's amazing, the systems that go into that. You know, I understand that this is the key to my freedom. And I like the freedom that I enjoy today. I like the passive revenue streams I've generated by training people to do it better than me. That's a must. And the value of systems, as going back to the top of this show today, right? Franchises, 90% success rate. Mom and pop businesses, 90% failure rate. Cool? Hold that thought. Let's see what Ashton's saying. Should every system have at least 15 steps? No, not necessarily, Ashton. You know, a step could have one step in it if that's what it entails, right? But the discipline for me is to spend that time flushing out a system as far as I can. Now, have I written a system with 15 steps? And then once we're verifying and managing it, right, you know, rewrite it for 10 steps? Yeah. We've also gone the other way and added more steps, Ashton. As I said, the simple opening of the door that we take for granted every day because we do it so innately is not as simple as one thinks. It really isn't. Identifying the door. This is important. You know, I've got a black Tesla and I've walked up to several Teslas when I'm out and about thinking it was my car. Going, why isn't this door opening? Only to realize with a closer look, it's not my car. It was somebody else's. So it's the same thing here. It's very easy for a new team member to go to the wrong door in a building. And if you're in a complex with multiple units, so step one became identifying the door of the location that you're opening up. That was never there before, but it became an issue, right? Step two, man, live your best life, live your best. I wanted to empower this team. So when we make copies of keys for locations, we verify this is our key by putting a little plastic red ring around the end of it. That was for the team because they have all these keys on their key ring. It's going to take them a while to find the key for the school. So again, putting a little way to identify it, improve the system. The next step, stick the key in the keyhole. I don't have a key for my Tesla. How many of you don't have keys for your car? So what we think is common, sticking a key in the door, isn't that way anymore. Some kids will go home and there's a security keypad to get in and out of their front door. So if you have a key, then you got to tell them, stick it in the keyhole. And here's the big one. For the longest time, I would say, turn that key 360 degrees. You know how many average kids don't know what 360 degree is? Just like if they don't have a digital clock, which we installed in all our schools because none of the kids can read a clock, a regular clock with a second hand. So we had to tell them, turn the key to the right, one complete turn. The next step, take the key out of the door. We've all done it ourselves. How many of you have ever left the key in your front door and got in? Go ahead. I'll wait. We all have, right? We know it. We all have. So that step of taking the key out of the door. Then, because most doors at home are not commercial, the doors at home open inward, right? Think of the front door of your home. Okay? So you had to tell them, pull the door outward. Go inside, right? And then turn on the lights. The big one for me, the next step in that was turning off the alarm. And one of the steps I was missing is identify the alarm keypad by the sound of it going off. Here's a picture of the keypad, all that. I said, put in this code, hypothetically, 1, 2, 3, 4. The big step I was missing for the longest time was stand there and wait for the alarm to turn green, which means go. We had like 4 or 5 false alarms at a location because it's a silent alarm. And it was costing me hundreds of dollars. Each time they came out, it got higher and higher and higher. But see, that's where you talk about managing the system, managing that system of understanding, well, how come I'm getting all these, why are we getting all these false alarms? Why is the police showing up to San Francisco? Whoa, here's a bill for 150. Next bill, 300. Next bill, 450. What is going on here? And then I recognized when I reviewed the system, because I'm managing it, oh, I'm telling him to punch in that code, but I'm not telling him to wait until green. Green means go. You can walk away from the keypad. Live and learn, right? It's just part of the living and learning. But I'm hoping today, at the minimum, you understand the value of systems. I encourage you to go back and watch today's broadcast again and again and again and again. If you can, go to brannonbeliso.com and purchase the e-learning product about writing systems where I go even deeper, because without systems, you are always going to be a slave to your business. You are never going to be what Michael Gerber says, the true architect of your business. You're simply a technician with an entrepreneurial seizure. Classic example, one of my clients yesterday was saying, I'd always listen to you and Roland Osborne talk about you do the 80 so you don't have to do 40 hours a week. I don't understand. How do you teach for 80 hours a week? Ding, 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 right? The light went off. I said, well, the challenge is you believe owning a small business, in particular martial arts business, only requires you to teach. That is not true. That is not true. Teaching is what? 30 hours a week at the most, if you open 6 days a week. Really, the real work comes in writing the systems. The real work comes from testing and managing and verifying all these systems. That's where the real work comes in. And I hope today you've discovered the value of this work. Is it glamorous? Do you get instant results? Nope. But when I can tell you, I haven't taught in San Francisco in 7 years. When I can tell you, I do none of my janitorial. We have systems and people that execute that. When I can tell you, I haven't ordered a single uniform or belt in years and years and years because there's a system. That is what I'm trying to share. But you have to have blind faith. You have to trust me when I say writing systems is the key to your freedom. And only you can write them. Everybody asks me all the time, can I have your systems? Can I have your systems? Can I have your systems? I can teach you how to write them, but you have to do the work. Hey, Beth, I'm working on systems right now. Awesome, Beth. And for every system you write and train somebody to do it really, really well on, it takes it off your plate. Yes, you'll always have to manage the systems and rewrite them. But when I have people executing like this, I'm so grateful to and John Cassidy over 12, 13 years ago when they turned me on to Michael Gerber and writing systems. The freedom I enjoy today, the peace of mind, really, the most peace of mind I get is that my family is secure. I mean, I pray to God he chooses to take me tomorrow. You know, my team's in place to deliver the core product of teaching. My wife can talk to the lawyer, talk to our accountant, the different people, my financial people, they can do all that. But the core teaching can't be done by my wife. She can't run in there and teach. She can teach kickboxing, right? But so super, super important. So to wrap it up, here's the story. Took myself off the mat. Month number one, I lost $10,000 from a year ago. January of the previous year, we were at $10,000 down this year. Because I had people flatly said, if you're not teaching, professor, I'm not coming. Okay. Next month, another 10,000. Month three, another 10,000. Shit, we're down 30,000 on the year from where we were a year ago. What would most people do? They would panic and they would run back on the mat and start teaching. Got to stop the bleeding. But vision work, I had the vision to see that the value of these systems would take care of my family. So I stayed the course. I stayed the course, right? I would manage these systems and verify them, sit on my hands, not run onto that mat and teach. By the fourth quarter of that year, we had our best quarter in business ever, 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 ever. Today, I'm just a unicorn. When I did that testing on Saturday, kids are looking at me like, you're the guy in the video, huh? Yes, I am. That's all I am. And I'm okay with that. Sunday at the tournament we had, same thing. Same thing. But that is the result of a long-term investment into becoming a systems-driven business and understand my purpose is to define why I need this system, design the system, train people on it, test the system, verify it, and manage it. That's what I do. So even though I don't teach, I still do 80 so I don't have to do 40. But the beauty of systems, if you don't see it, every time you walk into a Starbucks or walk into somewhere, you can see these systems. They're everywhere. Your morning ritual when you wake up, write down that system. And it should be exactly the same to put you in a state of mind to perform optimally. That's why I keep a journal. And that's why you should too. So you can write down your thoughts, write down these systems, and make it a habit. Writing systems is a habit. It's not haphazard. I got a fire, so let me put it out by writing a system now. No, no, no. I write these systems so I mitigate the majority of those fires before they ever happen. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot. But I can only tell you what I know. The position I'm in success-wise and freedom-wise is because I did the real work. I didn't see the value of systems for years until they were fully implemented, fully working, fully managed. And when I could sit back and go, I haven't been here in 7 years. Wow, that's a trip. Oh, wow, I only teach 1 day a week. That's a trip, right? So I know you're not going to see the results right away, but you need to trust me. That's it. That's it. Cool. All right. So let's thank our sponsors, man. We want to thank Tucson Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting. I use all 5 of these companies. I'm not simply an influencer for them. I use their products and they've impacted my businesses tremendously, tremendously. So I want to thank all of them. It's Time Life Purpose. That's coming up in November. Is it an investment? Yes, it is. Come to the 4 days. Close your school. Do what you got to do. I don't care. You are your best investment. 1 day, all training, how to teach, how to format, rotating curriculum. Day 2, all business, all marketing. Monday, personal development. And then Tuesday, wealth building, strategizing, taking what you've learned in 3 days to put it into actionable steps. It is a 4-day intensive, unlike anything you'll ever experience. You need to be at its Time Life Purpose. Put the link in there for them, Marco, so that they can sign up for Purpose. Oh, no, I don't have it yet, huh? So if you're ready to sign up for that, and it's a very personal experience, first come, first serve. I'm trying to get the people that come regularly to get signed up first. Put it in, please, and we'll connect with you and we'll get you that code for it. I trip every day on where I'm at. I was talking to one of my clients before this show, and he goes, dude, you ever thought you'd be in the position you're in today? I said, well, I wasn't so much whether I thought I would or I wouldn't. I just know or knew back then that if I did the right work, and that right work is in line with my purpose of live your best life. If I did the right work and I rooted it in good core values like integrity and honesty and things like that, that I would position myself to have a better chance of success. Am I so grateful that it panned out? Yeah. I fail miserably some days too, don't get me wrong. But the fact that I'm experiencing this type of financial freedom, time freedom, to make the kinds of choices that really work for me is it's a whole nother level, folks. I mean, it's one I can't even begin to share with you at a heart level. And I know it's hard for you to see that because you're just like, damn, this is a lot of work. It is. It is a lot of work. But you have to do the work because you are the architect of your business, because I don't pay your rent, because I don't feed you. So at the end of the day, your success is based upon you doing the right work. And systems, without a doubt, without a doubt, without a doubt, is key to you creating a business that works for you versus you working for it. I am Brannon Beliso. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the podcast for this, Success Never Sleeps. Follow me on Instagram. If you want to go to It's Time Purpose, let us know and we'll get you the link before we release it publicly. And for everything else, go to brannonbeliso.com. Until we talk again, who am I? Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. You go out there, live your best life.